I was selfish in the 90s and I was rebelling and doing drugs and sort of falling off a cliff in my own head and having a good time, I thought. I probably wasn't ready for it, but I'm not going to be half a parent. Having that responsibility, that's probably when it really started to kick in.
And there's not a massive gap between Gemma and Zach.
No.
They were born
within a year, yeah. So you can see it didn't take long for me to wake up. Yeah. It didn't take long for me to sort of wake up.
Yeah.
You know? I've seen some people where they get married young and they have kids young, and then by 35 they're like, off they go. And by then you're popping aspirins to make sure the blood thins. It all ends up being quite nice in the end, but growth, is tough, man.
Because you can't fix everything
You
either.
can't fix it, mate. If there's anything I can do is educate them to make good choices in their lives, and then if they don't make the right choice, well, I'll be there to help them get through the ones that aren't. I've tried to do my best.
Right.
And how long, and just so you've been doing this podcast for how long?
8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's insane, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's great. It's amazing. Right. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast. Today's guest is an actor and a singer who I grew up with watching on my TV in Neighbours. It was honestly the highlight of every single day. I'm going to admit this now. I did have a little picture of him by my bed. Today's
That
guest
makes me feel warm, encouraged. I'm on the right side of the table here. Yeah, it's good.
He's also the father of 3 children, adults really, 2 of them are adults. Today's guest is Jason Donovan. Hello.
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
Have we met before?
Yes, when you've worked with Carrie.
Yeah, well, was that at a War of the Worlds?
Yeah, War of the Worlds thing, yeah.
Brighton?
Yes.
Okay, I remember that.
Yes, don't you worry. I mean, lots of people coming in and out, but our paths have crossed.
Yes.
And we've got a lot of friends in common.
Yes, we do.
The Willises and everyone like
Yes.
that. But yes, I did have a little picture of you on my wall. We had a Kylie and a Jason.
Okay.
And me and my sister used to share a room, and we used to trade our frames. So it wasn't even like a crush thing; it was a we love these 2 people thing.
Sure.
So
I think that Neighbours probably sort of transcended crush. It became like a sort of
were our
friendship.
friends. Yeah.
It was like a sort of a friendship rather than just sort of a pop obsession.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was probably a bit later on with songs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But wow.
Yeah.
Can I ask how old you are?
40.
40. So that's about right. Yeah. You would have been young.
Yeah.
You would have been very young.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were a big part of my childhood, Jason. So thank you very, very much.
I'm happy to be a part of many people's childhoods, and Neighbours has been a gift for me. It's an absolute gift and something to celebrate and be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very proud of it. Even the mullet, the double denim.
Well, it's back now.
Double
All of
denim
that
is
back now.
big time, yeah.
I reckon an image of you back then is probably floating around Pinterest as kind of like a look that people want to recreate.
A benchmark. I think my son, if I recall a story, was in double maths he was doing at school, and the teacher pulled him over towards the end of the class, and I need to speak to you, Zach. And I think Zach at the time was wearing 2 shades of denim, and he said, I just want you to know that your father was one of the originators of double denim. And Zach was sort of I just moved on.
Yeah. What was your childhood like?
Well, I mean, I grew up with my dad. I'm sure you've probably read about that. My parents split when I was probably 5. I mean, I can't really recall the time. My father got custody of me in probably 1972, 73, which was quite unique in Australia at the time.
Can you remember times as a family before that?
Sort of vague, very vague. Sort of images, not times. And of course, photographs do prompt a lot, because also my family, my dad and my mother were in the public eye. And in fact, my dad and my mum appeared in television shows together, ironically. Right. So there are pictures. In fact, sometimes I get fans who just sort of ceremoniously give me, a copy of TV Week Australia with a picture of my dad and my mum on it. Yeah, I mean, look, there's always two sides to every story. Yeah. I can't really recall why I ended up with my dad, other than I was very close to my father. I mean, it's quite unique, really, because also, sons and mothers tend to be close. But yeah, I had a happy childhood. I mean, psychologists probably might like to look at it a different way if they sort of analyse certain periods in my life and, what's gone right and wrong. But, I had love. My dad was a great father. We were a great team. We were best buddies, really. Yeah. And I had, didn't see my mum a lot. She got remarried. She had 3 other girls. We have a relationship now, which is great. But, my dad also had relationships, and particularly my stepmother, who I consider probably the biggest part of my life, other than my father, a lady called Donovan. They've subsequently split up. But they have a son, and he was part of my life, my brother Paul. And so, Miles, as I call her, came along sort of when I was about 12 or 13, and I'm still very, very close to her. Yeah.
So I think psychologists could pick it apart and say, lots of stuff about it. But actually, if you feel like you had a home that was loving, safe, and gave you stability, then, you're the one who's lived it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I recall many times when, I would question why my parents had split up, and when probably my mother was returning. I guess that's just a natural optic of what had happened to me. But I don't look back now. I guess what it does do is galvanise the importance of my own relationships and my own marriage. And as perfect and sometimes imperfect as that can be, that my children probably don't go through. Well, don't go through that. That's probably not the right word, that they are as loved and as secure. Because as you and I both know, kids love security and continuity and to be settled. It's a really important part. And Ange, my wife, is an absolutely incredible mother. Yeah. Like an incredible mother. Yeah, I mean, amazing mother.
We all grow up with ideas, though, of what we're going to be like as a parent, and how, we can set out with all good intentions to kind of go, I'm going to give them this, and it's all going to like this, and it's all going to be rosy. But actually, as you go through life and realise that it does get complicated, marriages are complicated, life is complicated, and we can't protect kids from everything. And, have you looked back at your childhood differently now that you are an adult yourself and have kids?
I guess I'm going to be quite linear about this. I mean, a lot has happened to me over my childhood, over my adulthood, and a lot of my dreams came true, and my passions. Again, if you look at it psychologically, particularly in the 90s, for me was a pretty sort of tough, rebellious, self-centered, selfish period. But every action has a reaction, and when success comes to you like it did to me, you have to navigate, and there's no textbook as to how you do that. My dad, you know, the only probably thing is Dad loved to drink.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was never an alcoholic, but he was a nutter and still is crazy. I mean, he's just about to turn 90, and I love my dad, but for me, I tended to avoid alcohol for a long time, and that
You didn't drink until you were 30.
Yeah, well done. I didn't drink, and I love a drink now.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, but I don't do the weed and all the other sort of stuff that I used to sort of find an escape.
Yeah. I mean, it must have been so hard, though. You know, I said I've had your picture on my wall. It must have been so hard being that sort of golden boy that everyone kind of looked at in a certain way. Like, you've used the word rebel. Did you feel like you wanted to have a little release by doing the drugs that you did, or did you feel like it was stepping away from that, or did you just feel like part of you was on a bit of self-destruct?
Yeah, a bit of a bender, and I had worked so hard for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, and as you know, and you're in this world, is that sometimes the images that we create or are created for us aren't necessarily the ones that we think we wear the suit for, i.e., you know, a loincloth and a white pair of white fluffy socks and a Joseph coat. You know, I mean, you know, give me a break. Probably the one of the greatest opportunities in my entire life. But I didn't see myself as Peter Pan. I didn't. It was after that.
Which is also interesting because you think being the lead in a West End, you know, run like that, where there's a lot going on in the West End. You know, so it's surprising that you didn't rebel during that period. It was kind of after it that you.
Well, you know, I've always had a great work ethic, and that comes from my dad. You know, and so you know, work was work, and play was play.
The idea of going on stage,
that's the
hungover, or
that's the
like that.
problem with me. You know, I'm sort of, you know, I'm quite all or nothing.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And even now, you know, I can switch off, very disciplined, and I can, you know, have a great Saturday afternoon, you know, on the rosé, and you know, but I think going back to your question about love and where, you know, that looking back on my childhood, you know, there's probably. I mean, there's that famous, you've probably seen an internet thing with Jim Carrey and Tom Hanks, where the actors, where they're all sitting around and they're sort of saying, you know, as actors and as performers, we do this because we want to be loved. You know, I don't know whether I quite see it that way, but, you know, maybe deep down there is that aspect to what I do as a job that makes me feel more, you know, accepted or more worthy of. But I can't quite join the dots between the past and now.
Really?
No, I can't, and I don't have therapy.
Yeah.
I've never really felt. I have had moments of therapy, but I just sort of dwindle off. I don't have a consistent sort of. Never probably found someone. It's also quite difficult to find people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can trust.
I don't quite know where I'd start. You know, there's been moments of that, and then great, or it's been.
Also, you've been doing this job a long time, and I think sometimes when we give answers, what I have found in therapy is that we know how to give things over or answer questions in a way that is palatable and nice, and so therefore it's really hard to kind of go, no, but this is actually me and it's messy. And you know, someone said to me once that when you go to therapy you have to say the thing, and I find it really hard to say the thing.
What's the thing?
Oh, for me, it's all sorts of. Can't go on it now, David. Come on. Can't say to my therapist. Right, say it. But you know, it's that
question.
thing.
I mean, you know,
yeah.
The thing.
But saying the thing that you're holding, that's stopping you from, you know, letting go of the shit that we're all carrying or that we carry.
I mean, the irony is that I found, having spent 40 years of my life talking about my life, is almost therapy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hence now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The problem is those two cameras are on, and the problem is it's the microphone.
Yeah.
So that comes out with a scorecard sometimes.
Yeah.
And they're the sort of things that probably I've been bruised with, particularly, post Neighbours, particularly trying to grow as a man and as a boy and trying to find my place. How do you measure success? What is success? What does it really mean? How many bedrooms in an effing house do you need? Really?
Yeah.
It's sort of it's very complex. But if you're asking me honestly, I've never felt not loved.
Yeah.
Never. So I've always felt myself grateful. I come from a family that aren't deluded with illusions of grandeur. Always.
But also,
I
your
think
parents
that's also
were jobbing actors, they were working actors, you had that.
Yeah.
Well, you knew what that world was. You didn't go into it kind of going, I'm going to do this and I'm going to land a job in Neighbours and be really famous.
No.
You know what I mean?
No,
you saw what that life
correct.
actually was.
Correct. And I remember my dad once, pulling me in the car and sitting me down, and he just got, axed from a TV show that he was working on. Not that he was doing bad in the show. I just think probably either the show was coming to an end or they wanted a cast change. And, I remember him going, I don't know what we're going to, do next. I don't know what I'm going to do next. So I've been surrounded by actors, who can be quite narcissistic, negative, and particularly, if they haven't had success.
Yeah.
So, I've never taken any of it for granted, and also I would also say maybe the bit of the Aussie in me, the meritocratic sort of guy, has been a good thing to not lose touch with. And one other thing, physical fitness. I'm such an advocate. I don't see too many people with mental health, and I'm not saying, I'm sure there are many, but physical fitness and mental health go hand in hand. And even through the period in my life where, I was selfish in the 90s and I was rebelling and doing drugs and, and sort of falling off a cliff in my own head, and having a good time, I thought, I still kept fit. I still kept fit. So,
you were working
so
throughout that as well.
I was working. It sort of, so that buzz would always sort of just knock at my door and remind me. So,
when you were, because in the 90s you were having an amazing time, did you ever look to the future and think about children?
No.
Really?
No. I was too. I mean, to be honest with you, I can't completely remember, but on the journey I was on, I think it would have been the last thing on my mind.
And when you met your wife, did that come up at all in those early conversations?
I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
But if you know the history of Ange and I, we were together. Then we broke up, and then she, and I'm sure she won't mind me saying, because it's the truth, is that she was pregnant, but we weren't together. And she said, I wanted to have Gemma as it is, and I probably wasn't ready for it, but I said I'm not going to be half a parent, and I will support you. And the irony is it sort of turned not just myself around and not just my relationship with Gemma, but turned around my relationship with Ange.
Yeah.
So,
can you remember when Ange told you that she was pregnant, what your reaction was?
She wrote me a letter. Yeah, analogue.
Really?
Yeah. So, that changed my life, and it was, she's an incredible human being and you know, my best friend. And, you know, she, Gemma came along and she was right, you know.
But you've been really honest about the fact that it wasn't like it was an overnight change of your behaviour, of
No, it wasn't.
anything like that.
It wasn't.
So even for the first year of you know, or the first little time of, you know, Gemma being born.
I was still on a bit of a a bender. Yeah. Well, look, I think I've listened to a lot of people about recovery and addiction, and I don't know whether, I mean, mine was an addiction, but it was probably more binge than anything. Was that you've got to want to change. That's the bottom line, and you know, I had a get out clause, and the get out clause was keep going down the road I was, or here is this gift with Gemma, that made me sort of realise this was the moment to sort of you know, move on. And yeah, and you know, I don't even celebrate 20 years of, you know, not, you know,
really?
Yeah, I don't, you know, I don't need to. I don't know why. You know? I don't know. I don't go out and go, oh God, I really miss, you know.
Do you think it was tied up with that time as well? When life looked very, very different. And actually, once the kids came along, once you'd leaned into it and kind of, you know, accepted that this was going on and stuff, it's that actually the world has changed. Yeah. You've got a different level of responsibility. And actually, you can reflect on that time, but it doesn't mean you want to be in that time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think to my complete detriment of character, not detriment, not even regret, was I thought I was sort of being cool, you know. It was terrible. As I said to you, you know, I had this sort of Peter Pan image, and I felt that by, you know, going out and going to Browns or China White or
China White. Oh, God.
you remember these names, you know, Tramp or wherever it might have been, you know, or Saratoga in Melbourne, or, you know, the clubs in Sydney or Bondi or whatever it is. What I did have to do was change my address book.
Really?
And, you know, what I sort of did do was move out of my neighbourhood and try and start a bit of a different life, try and snooker that lifestyle.
Was that scary to do?
Not really. No, not really. You know, I don't
also,
miss
at that time.
I don't miss that. Also, because I guess the other thing for me was I had such a, you know, a wonderful foundation in my house, and that's a metaphor for what I'd done with I'd had a passion in my career. I still wanted to act. I still wanted to sing. I still wanted to be creative. I still had lots of time to give. You know, I've seen some people where, you know, they get married young and they have kids young, and then by 35 they're like, you know, off they go, and by then you're popping aspirins to make sure the blood thins, you know, to sort of, you know. So I figure, even though, you know, no life is perfect, maybe in a way, you know, it sort of, it changed early 30s for me at the right time. I also gave up smoking, like, as in cigarettes as well. You know, so I haven't smoked cigarettes for God.
I wonder if part of it is when you're living that life, when you're going to China Whites and, you know, getting through straight away, getting a table, all that stuff, you know, you welcome in a lot of people who just are there to get stuff from you. None of it's very real. It's very in the moment, let's have a good time-esque, you know, that's what that is. Where actually, Ange gave you something very different, very real. You know, I think when life comes in like that, it's a very different thing that's very tangible, and it's a very different
stable.
Future.
Yeah. And you know, I was very attracted to that, and to her, and to her strength and her character. You know, and you know, I think you know, maybe a woman or a human being or someone who was loyal, you know, and not thinking of themselves and not in that world, you know. Even though at the time that frustrated me a lot because I still look. Every nightclub has, you know, good and bad. I'm sorry, it does. Every bar has good and bad. Every football match has good and bad, you know. So there's, you know, there's still some people I speak to from that period, and still some wonderful characters and friends of mine from that period. But there's also a lot of people that probably were transient. The good thing about being an actor is you sort of study psychology in a way, you know. You study people, you know, and I always had one eye on that, you know. Always had one eye on that.
Can you remember meeting Gemma for the first time?
Oh, when she came out. Yeah. You know, yeah.
Do you remember what it was like?
Well, I mean, overwhelming, you know, overwhelming, emotional, you know, and I think more for me was because still there was fractures there at that time, and still I was still sorting myself out, you know. More to me was putting her in the
baby carrier.
Yeah, yeah, not that. The
papoose.
The papoose. Isn't that weird?
It's weird.
And walking around my neighbourhood with her.
Yeah.
And taking her, because again, Ange and I weren't together, taking her, Ange would say, you can, you know, you go and, she was living not far around in a flat, not far from where I was at the time, but having that responsibility and owning that person, and that's probably when it really started to kick in, you know, and taking Gemma home with me and having to change her, not with Ange around, or just on my own, and going, okay, this is the wake up call.
Yeah.
This is the sunshine, the brightness, the you know, this is the daylight that I needed to see.
I love that.
Yeah.
And there's not a massive gap between Gemma and Zach.
No, Irish twins.
I love this saying so much. I'm sure it's problematic for some people. But essentially, they were born within a year.
Yeah, within a year, yeah. So you can see it didn't take long for me to wake up. Yeah, it didn't take long for me to sort of wake up, you know. And I think maybe the thought of, I'll be honest as well, and I hope Ange doesn't mind me saying, is that the thought of maybe Gemma being fathered by someone else.
Yeah.
Sort of probably, you know, that, you know, and not saying that that's right or wrong, but I felt, you know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, and I think we can go back to your childhood at this point, because actually you know how important those roles can be with your stepmom, but it is that thing of letting other people into those roles, and you know, as the biological father, to know that there's another man stepping in to be a stepdad, but you have no control over that.
Yeah. It's, you know, I mean, there is probably a big connection. But I go back to the fact of, you know, I can't be half a parent. It's just not in my DNA, you know. It's sort of, I just can't be. And I made that clear decision. You know, and with Zach, you know, moving out of home, and then Ange and I sort of initially didn't live together.
Yeah.
We still lived separately, and then we did start living together, and that's when we changed neighbourhoods. Yeah. And that didn't work. So we quickly moved back. But I spent a bit of time going to Australia doing some jobs there.
Yeah.
I did a job for the ABC, a drama series for 2 years, and that was good for us as parents and my family in Australia and the kids. It's difficult, as you know, with kids to to travel. I always envisaged them being schooled in London.
Yeah.
And they are, UK kids. I mean, both of them have spent time in Australia, but they've always sort of come back, they're West London.
So once they get to a certain age, isn't it, really, they're a bit more tied down.
That's yet to come for you.
Well, no, but I mean, with things like school, suddenly they've got a place that they need to be.
Well, stability, and kids need stability,
Yeah.
Fullstop.com.
For a lot of people, for a lot of men, I would say that when they become dads, maybe they don't quite know what their role is or where they fit. Whereas your dad had custody of you. It was mostly you and your dad. So do you feel like you knew already what that role was? Like you knew how to have a friend as a dad? Like, did that stuff impact?
Well, I was an only child.
Yeah.
So there
difference.
you are, an only child without your mum being around. So
Yeah.
there's an instant,
Yeah.
there's, and Dad, God bless him, would make the worst sandwiches for school. They were terrible.
How can you get a sandwich wrong?
It was like literally, it was bread that wasn't fresh some days,
Right.
and so and not that his heart wasn't in the right place, but he was probably trying to navigate. There's no textbook for being a dad, and there's a lot of there's a lot of pressures obviously women go through, and there's a lot of pressures fathers go through responsibly, and the world is changing in equality between all sexes, which is a great thing. But there's still traditional elements of stuff that I try and working wise and making sure that I think that partners always look for, in any other partner, some form of stability and knowing that you're going to care for the unit in whatever way that entails.
Yeah.
And that might be the woman going out to work, that might be the male going out to work, that might be a bit of both. So, I'm still trying to navigate what being a father is, but I think lead by example, and openness about conversations. I've always said with the kids, if they want to experiment with stuff, bring it home. Let's go.
Really?
Yeah. I've got, I've had that. I've had that, snipped and tucked in a Newsbeat Radio
Right.
1 in an interview I did once, or and then once I said that, I think on Lorraine or something, and Jeremy Vine was debating it on at 12. I swear to you, and my wife was like, I can't believe that we're watching Jason Donovan has said on, but what will you tell me? What else am I?
Well, and also you can't be naive to the fact that stuff is out there and you've done it.
Yeah.
So you can't be hypocritical towards your kids to kind of go, don't do it. All of us, we can't kind of go learn by my mistakes. We all only ever learn by our own.
Mm-hmm. And demystify any element of what that. I mean, this is only one thing.
Yeah. Have you spoken to them now about it, now that they're older?
Drugs?
Yeah.
Not really, but they don't. They're not. They don't.
Different generation.
Yeah, they don't. They're quite. They are. They're
Very
quite
clean.
responsive. Yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah.
They are. In fact, I was talking to someone on holiday that they were saying that alcohol consumption in this particular restaurant in Spain that we go to is down considerably. Big problem. They're sort of probably saying because social media and social media, if you're getting, you've had too much, can put you on the thing, tagging someone, and bang, there you go.
I mean, we used to, when I was going out, I used to have one of those cameras that you had to wind up. But you'd only get like 24 cameras in a film, 24 pictures in a film. So once they were done, they were done. And that was the only record of the night. Time had gone. Exactly. Whereas now I do, and I can remember those nights being like I would neck back as much as possible. All of us would. Shots would be going. The point of the night was to get wasted. Yeah. Whereas now, I think there is a responsibility of what happens during that time and who might take a photo, who might take a video, where is that going? And I think people are a little bit more aware.
It is a different landscape out there. But, always an honest conversation around the kitchen table when people aren't looking at their phones. Yeah. That's another aspect.
Fast forward, after 10 years, you decided to go again.
Yeah. That was fun.
What was it like this time around? Because obviously, you know what that's like. You've got a bit of experience by this point, and then Molly comes to the world. Yeah, and you've got a considerable gap.
Well, I've always thought there's never a right time for children. No. Is there? There's never a right time. And I've always also said timing in life is everything. Yeah. I'm not a big believer in luck because I think you create your own luck in life. Ange was pretty excited about the prospect of that. And why not? And that's what we did. Yeah.
Is she 14 now?
She is.
So even then, like, Molly's coming through teenagehood soon. You're going to be at a point where...
Yes. Everyone's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're at the stage of when you downsize.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Well, not really at that stage, but
looking a bit sad. Not quite.
There's a lot of big decisions in that point. Yeah. And also it's a real test on relationships because everything really changes.
Well, because the focus that has been there the whole time of the kids for decades, suddenly that's not there anymore, and it's you two again.
It is, and that is an interesting thing, I think. But we're not quite at that point. Molly I think she's got 4 years left of school. Yeah. She's great. And it's a joy. It's a joy. Lucky me. Lucky us.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Lucky us. And also to invigorate the other two, who are 25 and 24. It's sort of it keeps everyone on their toes and involved. Yeah. And it's because the other two don't live at home anymore.
How was that, saying goodbye to them?
Easy.
See you later. Leave your key behind.
Easy. Cost me a bit, but it wasn't difficult because they come back home. And also they need their independence. And they can be messy too, and I'm a little bit like twitchy when it comes to my space. But I think their independence is really, really important. And Gemma has lived in Australia for 3 years with Neighbours. Zach was there just doing some work for 18 months. He's now back here. But they come home, and one of the great joys is, a Sunday lunch, or going out to dinner, and
Does parenthood feel different with Molly? Do you feel like you're able to lean into it a little bit more, that you're using the knowledge that you wish you had before now?
I think, I think I'm a different person. Yeah. That's what I think, if I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably. It's only really this year that I've sort of. I'm starting to think like you've got to start slowing down a little bit.
Really?
You know, you've got to start enjoying this time, because otherwise you're just out there touring and travelling and doing shows. And as you know, with your husband and your friends and your family, is that sort of you know you don't really create work from sitting in central London or or inside the M25. It has to be, you have to go out and you know, for my job, which is theatre, 8 shows a week, you know, I can be sitting in Manchester for 2 weeks and then moving on to Leeds and then doing on and that's been very good to me. I'm you know, I'm very grateful for that, and it's also put the kids through great education, which I think is imperative. If there's anything I can do is educate them to make good choices in their lives, and then if they don't make the right choices, well, I'll be there to help them get through the ones that aren't. So, but I've tried to do my best, as is Ange. Well, so I'm 57. I've sort of, you know, I've tried to, you know, work when I can to build up some sort of, I've used that word, foundation, so that maybe, you know, I can sit back a little bit more.
And also then enjoy the tours that you do, because you're going on tour next year.
I'm going on tour next year, we're doing a bunch, like 14, 17 dates. We had a great tour this year, doing fine. We didn't get to do some cities, so we're going to go back to the ones we didn't do. That's, I think, Feb, March.
And that's a very different gig, isn't it, to going on tour with a musical for a year? Like, that's a very different ask, to be away from home Monday to Saturday.
Yes.
You know, and that's because I've done
as
it.
your sister-in-law, and you,
and Carrie's been doing it for 10 months. I could not do a 10-month tour. Like, I just simply couldn't do it. And I don't know whether it's because we've got 3 boys at home that are just feral, and I'm just so aware of the weight that then Tom has to carry. I'm always like, 12 weeks is my...
you know, have you done a 12-weeker?
I have. But then I will drive so that I can leave last thing on a Tuesday. So basically push it so I leave about lunchtime on a Tuesday, and I try and drive home on the Saturday night.
And what was the last show you did?
Go on the train. So this start of this year.
Right.
And I've loved it. Absolutely loved it.
And how was that?
Just absolutely loved
great.
it. Yeah.
And you're sitting in a hotel room during the day?
Well, I have gone down the Airbnb route, because I feel like being... I don't know, I made some bad choices in terms of where I stayed.
Right.
And I ended up just going to these single rooms and just feeling so sad and having that deep feeling of, I should be home with my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's that horrible feeling of, what are you doing?
It's filling the show's fine.
Yeah.
In fact, from 5 o'clock till 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the great news is you come home and you have a cup of tea and you go to bed and you feel fresh, and you're not having a glass of wine at night. It's a wonderful
and
sort
you can
of...
sleep.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But it's the day.
Yeah.
Wandering around cities, you know, at Marks and Spencer's and Sainsbury's,
always at Marks and Spencer's,
Waitrose and Wagamama's. I know every single Wagamama's across the country. Yeah, it's terrible.
It's Do you
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pad Thai with extra prawn please. And the green juice.
The flip side of that is then when you do something in town, which is amazing because you can sleep in your own bed.
Amazing.
But then you've got an hour and a half maybe commute either side, and then you've still got to wake up at 6 with the kids. So it's a very different game then that you're juggling.
I know exactly that scenario, literally backwards. I think that's why I quite like musicals.
Yeah.
Because you come alive, do you know what I mean? It's quite bright and fun.
So I've got to say, doing Go on the Train, which is obviously really quite harrowing and dark, I flipping loved that. I loved I felt like, you know, we were talking about therapy earlier. I feel like doing that play was my therapy.
Right.
It helped me with grief. It helped me just work through so much that was just there, locked in. Right. I could walk out stage door with a bounce. Literally, I bounced
Really?
out every night. Yeah.
I don't know the piece.
She basically she's an alcoholic,
Right.
and
Jesus.
she's
Oh,
fixated
God.
with this couple. Her husband's left her for another woman who he's had a baby with. She's an alcoholic, lost her job. She's fixated with this couple. The woman goes missing, and she has these blackouts, and she knows that she knows something, but she doesn't quite know what. And so she tries to work out what's happened to her. So it's quite dark, and she's got this ex who is quite. Just not very good relationships in her life. Right. So it's just her trying to piece everything together. Okay. But just a lot to carry every night, and I just loved it. Loved working through the shit, basically.
And would you do? I mean, sorry to reverse the roles.
Don't worry.
But would you do consecutive weeks?
Yeah.
You would.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You don't do like a 3, 1 off.
No.
2 on.
No.
1 off. Yeah, I
think,
that's how I
yeah.
mine now.
Really, that's nice.
Yeah, I try and always do never do more than 3, then a week at home, then
It's hard, isn't it? Because you just think there's a whole industry of people, and touring productions, I just don't think get the credit that they deserve.
No, they don't.
But when you've got parents within that who are trying to navigate that juggle, be a present parent, but also having to go on, that's how you're providing. You're providing for your family by going on this tour. But it's the juggle of trying to be home and trying to be there, but also going out and doing your job. So it's a really hard thing to navigate.
And good for you, and Tom should be at home working his butt off.
I mean, generally it's a January, February, March, April thing where Tom's a little bit quieter, so I get to slip out of the house.
Okay. And he's off on tour at the moment.
He's off on tour now, yeah. Okay. But whereas, so I would do, this is getting heavily into my life and that's fine. Whereas I would do a Tuesday to, I would do a Tuesday to Saturday. So in my head, I'm like, I'm not home for 4 nights.
Okay.
He has, I think he's got so he's got a 37-day away. So he's away for 2 months, but 37 days of that are consecutively away.
Right. That's quite hard.
It is, isn't it?
Well, sometimes it'd be quite good.
Get into my own rhythm.
See, that's what, I come home and I'm sure half the house, well, even though it's a quarter of the house now, are actually looking forward to me leaving again. Because it's also, I'm probably sure you found as well, you become a bit of a stranger in your own home when you've been away.
Yeah.
But, I think work, and kids is a good thing too, showing the split role between you guys and I think that is a really important thing for their education.
Yeah, I want them to see mum going out and doing,
Sure. God.
So you're looking at downsizing. Are you going to downsize and stay in London eventually?
Yeah, I think so.
Because do you have to factor in? Have you talked about how you do that and whether you have to factor in where all the kids are, or would you and Ange just go? We've always wanted to live in Cornwall.
We have the luxury of lots of options in that sense. So but certainly downsizing at some point. But there's a chance that some of those kids might end up coming back home. Yeah, that happens a lot too, and that's something and lateral living is very difficult to find in sort of central London. There's always a lot of stairs to climb. So, it is, listen, as long as the health is good.
It's going to be tough though. Like, when does Gemma's room stop being Gemma's room?
Well, there is room there.
Is there a room that still has Gemma's leftover stuff there?
Oh, well, there's always a bit of Gemma's leftover stuff in our house. But listen, there is room for them to come back. And I think it's worth sort of sticking with that for a little while yet.
See, my mum and dad, I moved out to go to drama school when I was 18 and they separated. So actually I didn't have that home. You know what I mean? So that base. It was mum's house and dad's house. I never had a room in either of them.
Right, okay.
And it felt very weird not being able to go into a home and just go to the biscuit jar. Do you know what I mean? Like knowing where things are.
Sure.
But I wonder, had that not happened, whether they would have how I would feel going back to my home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether how long it would take me not to refer to my childhood home as my home.
Yeah. I find living with people very difficult now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, having had a family, and I've done it a little bit. And as Aussies, they love to come and, you know, the Aussies love to come and sort of say, can we stay with you? You know. Yeah, I wouldn't imagine, you know, in my situation, ever going and living with my dad. I couldn't think of anything worse. Oh, shit. You know, my dad's not young now. So, but there was a point, yeah, when but I moved out of home very young, very, very young. I don't know about you.
Well, I didn't go back after drama school, so I would have been 18.
Okay, did you do drum school here?
Yeah, I went to Rose Bruford.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, then me and Tom moved in together.
Right.
Yeah. So I've not been home.
Since?
Home, yeah. Well, I've been, yeah.
Yeah, ish.
If you could write a letter on being a dad, who would it be to, and what would you say?
Well, it's probably my kids, you know, or their kids, or I think the time thing comes into my mind, you know, of you know, this that thing in Instagram throws at you all that sort of stuff about your you know, can you remember who your great grandparents are? I can't remember. Do you know what I mean? How small we are in this moment in time, but there is an element of photographs and stuff that I have from the past, and I did a Who Do You Think You Are as well. Yeah, so it's sort of all. You know, I think that aspect. What would I say? You've just got to, you know, be there, embrace friendship and honesty. Yeah, just they're the sort of themes. You know, I'd also say that, you know, don't be scared to think you don't know what you're doing, because I still haven't worked out what it is. Stability, you know, I think kids don't need to be taught. They just learn by examples, you know. Kids are listening to everything, and, you know, they're always got one ear to a conversation, and I, you know, we are the product of our parents. You know, we're definitely the product of our parents. You know, school can take so much. You know, I do hear a lot about sometimes, you know, wish the school would do this and that. Maybe the parents need to, you know, change as well.
Yeah.
Education is important, but it still comes back to your parenting and love.
Yeah.
You know.
Is there anything, now that you've been in this parenting game a long time?
I have.
Yeah. Is there anything that you found stressful that you, or you know, things that seemed difficult at the time that you look back on and kind of go, oh, with new eyes, with, you know, with experience, that you wish you didn't stress over quite so much? You
know, there's physical responsibilities of kids, and I'm not going to shy away from the fact my kids have gone through private education, and that is, and the problem with that is that once you get on that, you can't just jump off it, you know, and that comes with going away and being away for 12 weeks, you know, a bit like yourself, and that's a luxury, you know. I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there that don't have that. That's a decision I've made in my life that I wanted my children to take, and you know, lucky me, lucky us. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That has a lot of responsibilities with it. With all the kids they've gone through, every kid has issues at school and stuff, you know, and that's a really difficult thing to navigate, because, you know, children can be pretty harsh on each other. Yeah. And that has applied to all the kids. There's also aspects to their growth and development that as genetics can't change and move, and you can't, you know, it all ends up being quite nice in the end,
Yeah.
but growth, is tough, man. It's tough.
Well, parenthood is about you learn so
Yeah.
much of yourself
Yeah.
whilst you're parenting.
Yeah.
We think we're just parenting
Yeah.
our kids and helping them grow up, but actually we learn so much
Yeah.
throughout the process about our patience, about how we cope with different pressures and things like that, and our own childhood. I think it makes us look back at our own childhood and go, "Oh, this is why I'm getting stressed in this situation because I." Whatever that is.
It's interesting, and you're probably not at that stage yet, but school is a bubble, whether it's private or public school. And, I grew up in a, we call them public schools in Australia, Catholic boys' school I went to. Everything's quite well contained, even though there's issues at friendships at school and all those sort of things. It's quite a contained. When they leave school, it's really tough.
Really?
Well, because you want their dreams to come true. You want their passions to be excelled. And it doesn't matter whether you're, the greatest actor or the best lawyer or you work on a train or everyone has dreams, but you can't. In school, they can sort of fulfill those to a certain way, but once the good news from my perspective is that, as I said, I really feel that the kids have, they're not out there. They're not in trouble with the law. They're not out there doing drugs, and they're not going crazy. And they have respect for other people. They are characters, and there's a lot to contend with. It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. It could be a lot worse, It could be a lot worse.
Maybe that's a parenting mantra. Could be a lot worse.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse. And I'm proud of the two older ones, Molly and Molly, of course, Molly. But
With the older ones, though, I guess they're in a different realm now. Really, you know what I mean? It's kind of like you've had to go through the letting them go to a certain extent as well. So it is that, waving them off. For you, it sounds like you threw a party, waving them off and not feeling sad, but also that enjoyment of kind of going, I've done all I can for this period of intense parenting, but actually the next chapter of it is different. It
was very different for me because I just went off.
Yeah.
It was really different for me. Yeah. It was really, but Jesus, lucky me, and I just landed on my feet, and I was in a relationship, and off I went. Yeah. There's still problems, obviously, but yeah.
It's exciting. Exciting times thinking about what your kids are going to do.
Yeah, it is, but it's also, it's tough, mate. Yeah. It's tough.
Because you can't fix everything either.
You can't fix it, mate. Doesn't matter, Fletcher, Magaletcher. Doesn't matter, mate. Yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah. Doesn't matter. It's there. You can facilitate to a certain degree, but then it's up to them to sort of fly or cruise or surf or not or yeah.
We end the podcast.
Stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine. We end the podcast with you completing 3 sentences. The first one is being a dad means
being fulfilled, full.
Since having children,
I'm a better person.
And I'm happy when
my kids are happy.
I heard you saying, actually, you're only as happy as your unhappiest child.
Correct.
Completely agree.
Correct. You're only as happy as your unhappy child.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it's crazy that, being a father came into your life at a moment of debauchery or whatever whatever that was. And actually it's changed your path so massively. Yeah. Into this, into a very different environment.
Do you know, though, I don't know what's around the corner, mate, either.
No.
You know, and you know, there's a circle of life. I really believe in the circles. The world is round for a reason. You know, so, you know, and I'm seeing a lot of change in my dad, so that's, you know, and you know, people, it's a terrible thing to say, but passing on and the baton being passed on, and your sort of your natural selection, natural progression, you know, that's a whole other conversation. You know, maybe that's a different podcast.
Well, my dad, he came on the podcast, and he's you know, referenced the fact that with my nonna gone, he's at the top of the.
What's the nonna gone?
His mum, my nonna.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So now that she's died, you know, he's the older one.
Right,
so now, you know, it's that thing of next it'll be him.
Yeah,
You know, if things go in the natural order,
well, let's
whatever.
hope it's always that way.
Well, yeah, I know it doesn't. You know,
That's the other thing that keeps me awake at night.
Well, because we just don't know. We don't know what's going to be thrown at us.
And I've
life.
seen lives change.
Yeah.
I have seen lives change, as I'm sure you have. It's, you know, let's hope.
Yeah.
Natural selection and natural progression has its and we all live long, happy lives and spend some great lunches and dinners and more conversations like this.
Jason, thank you so much.
Cool. That was good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That was great. I enjoyed that.